Yes, and this is not the first time that Thailand has seen a situation such as this. Over the past 20 years, at least we had 3 prime ministers who came from elected MPs. And I have to stress that because in Thailand, sometimes we have military generals who took over with force. But when it comes to elected politicians, the situation is now starting to become a more frequent than less frequent that the courts step in to remove them.
His premiership has been marred by setbacks. How do Thai voters view his leadership?
I think the Thai people will remember Kun Srettha as the global salesman for Thailand. So he was very keen to bring in investments and talk to the top CEOs around the world. He's himself also a former CEO, a successful former CEO. So that's the concept that he presented himself. And I think that's the key issue here, because the main questions being asked in Thailand right now is what is going to happen to all these key economic pro-investment policies promised by Srettha's government. The short answer is we still have a government in Thailand. It's a caretaking government. Although Mr. Srettha is no longer at the head of the table, his deputy, a former deputy, Phumtham Wechawachai, is constitutionally bound to act as the interim leader of the government.
Is it a complicated process to elect a new leader? I understand we should have a result on Friday?
Well, it could be that quick because we are a parliamentary system, so the MPs select and vote for the Prime Minister. We don't require a new election. So it's something similar to where I am now, similar to the UK parliamentary system. Now, the trick is, if you look at the coalition, the current coalition in Thai Parliament, it's not as straightforward as it seems, because on one hand, you have Pheu Thai, the party that was led by the Prime Minister, who's now removed by the court's order. And you have the opposition party, which is almost as large, actually arguably larger if you look at these two parties. But the current government, the current coalition only stands because the coalition sticks together. Now the questions becomes whether there's a slightly, very less likely but still possible scenario where Pheu Thai and the new opposition party could join hands, or is there going to be another twist in the plot?
Well, can you tell us who are the strongest contenders, do you think?
The leader, the current leader of Pheu Thai party, which is the government, the party that leads the government coalition, is the daughter of former Prime Minister. Her name, the leader of the party, her name is Paetongtarn Shinawatra, a 37-year-old graduate of political science and hotel management from Surrey University here in the UK. It's taking a very active approach in recent years, and I think she could be a legitimate candidate. The way it works in Thailand is you can't just select one MP in the House and become the Prime Minister. You need to have a shortlisted names submitted before the election. So we now have a very limited number of people who could be eligible to be selected by the MPs. Mrs. Paetongtarn Shinawatra is one of them. Another candidate from the Pheu Thai party is a senior lawyer who is reportedly not so healthy at the moment. So I think the focus will be mostly on Mrs. Paetongtarn Shinawatra. But there are other candidates from much smaller parties who might be able to gather and whip up the votes. So that will be something that we have to focus very closely in the next coming days.
And if Ms. Paetongtarn Shinawatra is voted in, how significant would this be for Thaksin and the Shinawatra family?
Well, there are different theories being thrown around whether Mr. Srettha was removed by some kind of tacit consent, or whether this is an accident that nobody expected. One way or the other, what the Thai people want right now is a leader who can guide us through these economic challenging times. And Ms. Paetongtarn Shinawatra works closely, has always been in close collaboration with the former Prime Minister who was just removed a few hours ago. So I think that would be a positive sign for the country to show to the world that Thailand is still going to move forward, because over the past year or so, Srettha Thavisin was the one who invited and went to see the CEOs of the top companies around the world, and he promised that Thailand could be a major hub that could compete with countries like Singapore or Hong Kong. Now, the question becomes, if Ms. Paetongtarn steps up, can she continue that vision, that policy? And I think when it comes to Pheu Thai Party, that's their main policy, that's their leadership style. Whereas the opposition party, they are more well known for their social justice campaigns against, social injustices or reforms of lèse majesté, which led to the dissolution of that opposition party, and now they are forming a new one. So we have a very pro-investment, pro-economy government, caretaking government, and I expect that the Thai people would want that to continue.
Well, amid all of this, how is the economy doing?
The economy is facing global challenges with rising inflation, higher living cost. So Mr. Srettha, the former Prime Minister, just a few hours ago, he was the one who pushed for what the key policy called the digital wallet policy, which means the government would inject cash, but not into the bank accounts, but into a digital app on your phones. So it encourages people to become more digitally native, at the same time to stimulate the spending in the economy. And that's the key policy of the current caretaking government as well. So that will be a key challenge, because it's possible that other candidates who might be voted as the next Prime Minister, if it's not Ms. Paetongtarn Shinawatra, could argue that, okay, I'm more concerned, I'm more interested in other policies, then perhaps we have to pause this policy. And I think that will bring a lot of uncertainty to Thailand.
And just finally, how do you think voters are viewing all this political turmoil? I mean, they went to the polls not too long ago thinking they had elected a new government that would surely last longer than a year.
In the Thai political history, which I teach at University of London, there's only been one time in the modern Thai history that a Prime Minister managed to finish his or her four-year term, only one time. And every other time, there's either a dissolution of the House, the military takes over, or more frequently, recently, the court steps in. So I think people are getting anxious. They are getting fed up that the 5 votes by the judges on the Constitutional Court trumps the 60 million people eligible voters in Thailand. That's going to be a contention that has been running for several decades now and will continue to be entrenched in Thai politics. One way or the other, the political leadership, especially if Ms. Paetongtarn is going to step up, will need to address this through constitutional amendments, through social discussions that we can no longer accept these types of intervention, which is, by the way, a product of the so-called constitution that followed the military coup. So they rewrite the constitution, they put in these strange rules that allow the judges to step in and intervene, and I think that will need to be changed.
Really interesting to get your views. Verapat Pariyawong, thanks so much for talking to us tonight.
Thank you.